In this week's drive, we light it up at Daytona. Hear what the boys think after riding the Red Bull. Watch the mountain goats of the biking world. And scratch some paint in the desert. All this and more in this week's Drive. We start this week with the Sauber Formula One team who completed their three-day test in Spain. Both the 2005 drivers, Jacques Villeneuve of Canada and Brazilian Felipe Massa, praised the performance of the new C24 car. Veteran Villeneuve, who came out of retirement to race for Renault in the last three Grand Prix of 2004, will line up with Massa, who hopes the new car will take him to a higher place than 12th in the driver's standings last season. He was third quickest in testing, while Villeneuve was more than a second slower. Only Fernando Alonso's Renault and Juan Pablo Montoya's McLaren Mercedes were quicker. Afterwards, Massa was confident that 2005 could be a special year for the team.
The car this year will be much lower than it was last year, but for everybody due to the new rules. And but looking everything, I think the C24 is a very good car. We improved massive the middle of the year to the end, the C23 last year, and I'm sure we built a very good car looking our improvement last year. So I think this is a step forward.
Villeneuve, who'll be 34 in April, brings the experience of a driver who won the 1997 World Championship with Williams and has been impressed with the setup at Sauber. But he expects that he will have to change his driving style to match the new type of cars.
You're not nervous when you get in a new car. You just want to see if it feels good or not. That's all. And from the first laps you do, normally you're happy for the rest of the season or you're unhappy for the rest of the season.
And how was it today?
It was good. We didn't do a lot of laps, but the car felt good from the start, so I think it will be all right.
Massa, who will be 24, also in April, is hoping his partnership with a Canadian will benefit him and also help to improve on Sauber's 6th place in the Constructors' Championship last year.
Oh, I think it's very good for me. I mean, he has a lot of experience, which is important for the team and for me as well. And it's a big challenge, so if I can be in front of him, it will be fantastic.
Jacques is also predicting an exciting season for the Michelin-supplied team as tyre manufacturers find the best formula for the cars.
The first few races, it should make the races more interesting because some cars will be faster at the beginning of the race, some others at the end of the race. So there should be maybe more overtaking in the end of the race than there was in the past. But after a few races, once the tyre manufacturers manage to improve the tyres to last year's level, then it will make a very small difference.
He has high hopes for his new team after an unhappy end to his time at BAR.
Yeah, but it's also the team with the best wind tunnel, and that's a huge help. And it's a racing team, and there's no politics. Everything that everybody does here is just to race, to be competitive. All the energy and the money is spent on that.
I think we can be better than last year, and we see maybe close to the big ones.
Villeneuve hopes to get his career back on track with Sauber starting in Australia in March. We stay in Spain but cross to Jerez for the launch of the new Red Bull Formula One team. The Cosworth-powered RB1 is a modified version of the Jaguar R5 after Austrian energy drink brand Red Bull bought the Jaguar team from Ford in November. This car then is effectively the one Jaguar would have raced if they'd still been in existence. Scotsman David Coulthard is the team's only confirmed race driver, with Austria's Christian Klein and Italian Vitantonio Liuzzi vying for the second seat. All three were testing the cars in Spain. Coulthard was pushed out of the McLaren Mercedes team, while Klein was Jaguar's #2 driver last year. Liuzzi has no previous Formula One experience. The Scot will do well just to make an impact on the minor placings, although the ex-McLaren, ex-Williams driver does have the benefit of familiarity with several key members of his new team.
Adjustments to the cockpit. You know, if I need to go down here for this fail-safe dash, one, I can't really see it on the little sub-dash. Two, if I'm on the straight.
What I saw was a proven track record
of success and commitment from the Red Bull brand, as well as the belief that the ingredients that they have, which is the old Jaguar team. A number of people there I've worked with in the past, in my early part of my career, so I knew and had relationships with these people for more than 10 years.
The conditions were awful for learning a new car. Damp patches, cold temperatures and a low winter sun creating glare on the wet track.
One of the strengths, I believe, of the company is its confidence in the people that it employs, and the ability for the people that are employed by the company to give their opinion.
So this is the RB1. Beautiful lines, but unlikely to knock the Ferrari juggernaut off course. The team were showing off the cars that they hope will bring them glory in the forthcoming Formula One campaign. Some chance. Coulthard, who won 13 Grand Prix with Williams and McLaren, said that Red Bull can be future high flyers, even if they have little hope of winning races this season. He pointed out that for several seasons no one took BAR seriously, and suddenly they appeared as one of the strongest teams and finished second in the Constructors' Championship.
I think it's a good possibility to get some more, also to get good results this year. I think the team is young, have a very good young team spirit, and I think we can achieve some good things in the future.
Red Bull team boss Christian Horner was involved in failed negotiations with Irish entrepreneur Eddie Jordan to take over his team last year. Horner was appointed by Red Bull owner, Austrian energy drink billionaire Dietrich Mateschitz, who bought Jaguar Racing from Ford in November. Jordan was sold to Russian-born Canadian businessman Alex Schneider. To say that Vitantonio Liuzzi was the dominant force in Formula 3000 last year would be an understatement, as the Italian ruled supreme, winning 7 of the 10 races and claiming the championship easily.
I think the mentality of the team and the atmosphere is really great, and they are working really hard to achieve really good point in the future. I mean, at the beginning it will be quite tough. We will always work to improve the car and to make the best. It will be important to score points and to bring the car at the end of the race. But I think that Red Bull will have a successful year, and always they will look forward for the future because they have a really good mentality.
Running lots of laps in the difficult conditions saw Coulthard find the limits imposed by less downforce and the new long-life tyres. On the back of the millions made from the clubber's favourite non-alcoholic drink, Red Bull owner Mateschitz should have at least the resources to complete the 2005 campaign. It promises to be a long, hard season. Still at Jerez, Nelson Piquet Jr., son of the legendary Brazilian Formula One driver, was testing for BAR Honda. Nelsinho completed 41 laps of the circuit in last year's car as Takuma Sato tested the all-new BAR Honda 007.
The driving experience with BAR Honda was very good today. For me, it's a great opportunity to be driving with such a good team, and they're doing so well. Last year they did a very good job, and the third in the championship was Jensen. The F1 car compared to Formula 3, for example, is something uncomparable. It's very, very different. I have very little mileage in the Formula 1 car, so for me, the most I drive, it's every time very important because I learn a lot. It's still a beginning of a Formula 1 career, you know, going to different teams, meeting different people. Formula 1 car has around 900 horsepower. The forces that we have to produce in the car with the neck and all the rest is something incredible that no driver knows how strong it is until they sit in the car. So it's something unbelievable, unexplainable. Today I did 41 laps, and I was on the same pace as the race driver Takuma, and I have improved a lot, and I think that every time I'll sit in the car I'll be knowing a bit more and having less trouble with, well, all my difficulties that I have still when I sit on Formula 1 car. Being an F1 for me would mean a lot. I'm still 19 years old, so I still have a few years ahead of me to learn how much I want, and one day I'll get there, I think.
Just 19, Nelsinho became the youngest ever Formula 3 champion last year. His father was Formula One champion in 1981, 83 and 87. BAR Honda gave Nelson Jr. the chance to follow in his father's footsteps. Piquet Sr. raced with Honda engines for Williams, winning 23 Grand Prix. Meanwhile, over at Silverstone in England, it was raining for the first outing of Jordan's new signing, Narayan Karthikeyan, India's first Formula One driver. He had to raise significant sponsorship, but F1 boss Bernie Ecclestone denies that he bought his drive.
He's been signed for his quality as a driver, not for any other reason. It happens that it's lucky for us.
Karthikeyan and Portugal's Tiago Monteiro shared the driving over the 3 days of testing. Both drivers are new to Formula One, with Karthikeyan only completing the distance he needed for a super license after his first test outing in the Toyota-powered EJ15. Jordan was struggling to stay afloat last year and was taken over by the Midland Group last month. It will race as Jordan this season, starting in Australia on March the 6th, but will change its name to Midland next year. The team finished 9th out of 10 last year, fighting for survival until Russian-born Canadian millionaire Alex Schneider stepped in after an introduction to Eddie Jordan by Ecclestone. Both drivers have tested Grand Prix cars before and raced for Jordan's new sporting director, Trevor Carlin, in other categories. Karthikeyan tested for Jaguar and Jordan in 2001, but failed to make the grade as a race driver. He was also offered a test drive by Minardi in 2003, but couldn't raise the cash required by the hard-up team.
It's fantastic to drive a Formula One car, and we're trying to, the deal was done in the last minute, so we have a lot of work to do, and we're trying to, get it all moving, and it's going well at the moment. A rookie needs to learn a lot in Formula One, and I've set realistic goals. First, I want to finish the races, and then the odd races here and there, maybe pick up some points. That'll be a good start, and if we can qualify 14, 13, something like that, that'll be a big bonus as well. I'm really happy, I'm really proud of it, and motorsport is going to take off in India in a big way, because there's going to be a lot of interest, obviously, with me in Formula One.
Generally, the press pick these things up. They want to report, and when that happens, obviously, people start watching TV. I think we better have a look. We've now got a driver. Let's see what he's doing. Somebody that perhaps would have never bothered to watch a Formula One event, because we have an Indian driver, will suddenly start watching.
Monteiro drove US Champ Cars in 2003, tested for Minardi last year and raced for Carlin's Nissan Dallara World Series team, winning 5 races and finishing 2nd in the championship.
The last couple of weeks have been a bit crazy, very, very busy. Everything happened very quickly, so we were not maybe ready in all the departments, so we had a lot of work to do now, getting everything sorted out. Then we started the tests right away, so I must say it's been a lot of work since we joined the team, but I feel like at home already. Everybody's really, really nice, and they make me feel comfortable.
Monteiro, who like Karthikeyan is 28, will be the first Portuguese Formula One driver since Pedro Lamy drove for Minardi in 1996. Ecclestone is looking forward to an Indian summer.
Do you think we're going to see a Grand Prix in India?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, yeah, definitely. It's a case of where at the moment and when.
Where have you been looking? Where have people been interested?
Most of the obvious places. I mean, probably we'll finish in Bombay. I would think that's probably.
The weather was clear as the 63 cars made their final preparations for the 43rd Daytona 24-hour endurance race, with a field packed with American and international stars. The event got off to a clean start and without any incidents. However, with the field of cars under a caution in the 3rd hour, there was a crash involving 3 Porsches. First, Dave Stewart in the 93 car hit May van Wyck. That spun Stewart, who ploughed into Seth Neiman, whose car suffered extensive right-side damage, losing a door. After starting from pole position, Alexis Riley of Pruitt, Diaz and Briscoe lost a tyre, which spun Diaz 3 times. However, last year's winners battled on and were rewarded with 7th place. It was also a tough race for the Pixar Newman Ford team, driven by 80-year-old Oscar-winning actor Paul Newman, Michael Brockman and Champ Car champions Sebastian Bourdais and Cristiano de Mata. The car suffered several spins and off-course excursions, was never a factor in the race and retired with mechanical problems in 51st place. In the race's 10th hour, Dario Franchitti made contact with a GT car which cut his right rear tyre and cost his team an unscheduled pit stop. All-day, all-night racing makes unique demands of drivers, teams and cars alike. With just over an hour left in the race, the leading team made its final driver change and Max Angelelli got into the car. Not long after that, a frightening incident as Nick Johnson's car caught fire as he entered pit lane. Fire is a driver's worst fear, but quick thinking by Johnson kept the car away from the fuel bowsers in the pits. Angelelli, Wayne Taylor and Emmanuel Collard claimed an 11-lap victory in their Pontiac-powered Riley. It was the first Daytona win for Angelelli and Collard and the second for Taylor. With a field considered the strongest in the 43-year history of the event, with stars from NASCAR, the IRL and Champ Car dotting the lineup, it was a huge victory for the trio of sports car specialists who've been racing together around the world since 1998. The 2005 NASCAR season started at the Daytona Oval with the Budweiser Shootout, a non-points race for last year's pole starters and former shootout champions. A crowd of 85,000 were at the made-for-television race, which is often a preview to the Daytona 500. Defending shootout champ Dale Jarrett led the first lap before Greg Biffle took the top spot and held it until the scheduled 10-minute break after 20 laps. Biffle led for 44 laps, holding the top spot until the front runners pitted again on lap 46. He came out of the stop third behind Ryan Newman and Jimmy Johnson and never regained the lead. Newman grabbed a big lead when he took only 2 fresh tyres on the required stop in the second part of the race. But Johnson, with 4 new tyres, was the next fastest driver out the pits and tracked down Newman in just 8 laps of the 2.5-mile oval. Johnson charged past Newman on lap 55, dragging Biffle, Busch and Jeff Gordon with him. While Johnson's Chevrolet held the lead, the action behind him was furious in the closing laps, with Newman diving low into turn 1 3 laps from the end to grab second place. Gordon, who took second place away from Biffle on lap 66, was shunted back to 6th on the next lap, but came back to finish 3rd. Johnson took home the winner's purse of $212,900 US. The opening round of the new Middle East Rally Championship attracted 25 starters from 11 countries. Defending champion Sheikh Khalid Al Qasimi and his British co-driver Michael Orr steered their Subaru Impreza off first. Qatar's Nasser Saleh Al Attiyah began the second day's loop of 6 stages with a 2-minute lead over Sheikh Al Qasimi and eventually claimed victory by the winning margin of 1 minute and 50 seconds. Al Qasimi and Orr had to be content with a solid second position to begin the defence of the regional title they claimed in Dubai last December. Al Attiyah relinquished 30 seconds of his lead in the 13th stage after easing the pace in his similar Subaru Impreza. Qatar's Khalifa Al Attiyah and Rashid Al Salaiti finished 3rd in their Mitsubishi Lancer Evo. Dubai's Rashid Al Ketbi incurred a time penalty of 1 minute and 50 seconds, which dropped him behind Khalifa Al Attiyah into 4th place at the start of leg 2. Early day 2 retirements included the UAE's Sadiq Fadel and Syria's Yazan Rijleh, who found an inconvenient rock and rolled his Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 8 in the 11th stage. Neither of the crew were hurt. Qatar's Misfa Al Mari lost a top 3 position with a dump valve problem in the 6th and 7th stages, and he slipped down the leaderboard. He eventually climbed back to 5th position, with Britain's David Skeelam, the UAE's Ron Oakley, Kuwait's Mufid Mubarak and Jordan's Asaf Aref rounding out the top 10. Nasser Salih Al Attiyah and co-driver Chris Patterson lead the new championship by 2 points. Barcelona hosted the 5th round of the Indoor Trials World Championship. 10,500 spectators filled the stadium, and the crowd would witness a dominant display from their Spanish heroes. Reigning Indoor Trials World Champ Adam Raga finished in first place after the qualification lap, which was staged over 8 man-made obstacles. The Spaniard would concede a maximum of 5 penalty points on only the second obstacle, but Raga was formidable on his gas and eventually finished qualifying with an impressive total of just 6 points. Raga's compatriot Albert Kabastani also advanced from the qualifying round. Like Raga, Kabastani struggled on the second obstacle and received 5 penalty points, but the Sherco rider responded well to his early mistake. Kabastani would drop only a single penalty point on each of 2 of the remaining obstacles, and with another point also conceded on the first obstacle, he finished with a total of 8 points. The field were all competing for a place on the decisive final lap, and the 3-man lineup would be completed by yet another Spaniard, 19-year-old Jeroni Fajardo, impressing in front of his home crowd. Fajardo outperformed some big-name riders, including Dougie Lampkin and Takahisa Fujinami, on the way to a qualification score of 8 points, equal to the mark of Kabastani. The final was held over 12 obstacles and 6 head-to-head races. Raga and Fajardo both conceded 5 penalties on the first obstacle, and Kabastani took the early lead, but dropped 5 points on obstacle 4 and 2 more on number 5, allowing Fajardo into an unlikely lead. The event was decided over the final 4 obstacles. Fajardo received 11 penalties for a total of 24 and third place, while Kabastani also conceded 11 points for a total of 22 and second place, his 4th runners-up place of the season. But Raga, a winner in each of the season's 4 previous Grand Prix, underlined just how far ahead of the competition he currently is. A solitary penalty point was dropped between obstacles 11 and 14 for a total of 15 points, and Raga recorded his 5th consecutive victory of the season. Raga holds a 12-point championship lead over Kabastani and will aim to maintain his advantage in round 6, the Russian Grand Prix in St. Petersburg. Frenchman Luc Alphand, the former world champion downhill skier, shifted his focus entirely to the sport of ultra-marathon rally raids, driving a Works Mitsubishi to a fighting 2nd place in this year's Dakar Rally, behind teammate and multiple car and bike winner Stefan Pederhansel. However, Alphand hasn't quit the skiing scene entirely. Recently, he took part in the Pro-Am skiing contest in Bormio in Italy, which is rapidly becoming one of the highlights of the ski calendar. This unique event offers skiers and snowboarders of all abilities the opportunity to race against some of the biggest names in skiing and snowboarding.
3 points for each as we head towards the...
More than 100 participants, 14 professionals and a field of amateur skiers, all raced the challenging parallel slalom course. Cheered on by crowds of spectators and covered by a host of international broadcast media, Luc Alphand's team clinched the victory in the final, defeating the team led by Norwegian Ole Christian Furuseth. But for the moment at least, Luc's still a retired downhill racer. So, whether you're the oldest driver on and off the track, just jumping around in the desert, or leaping to victory in Spain, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.